the sun does shine, well, you may find the youngsters on deck studying their lessons or perhaps reading a magazine. Those remote villages do have electricity and telephones, but those are about all of the modern conveniences. Occasionally, the weather can be so poor that the boat can't risk picking up the school children. Then, the children have to call in for their lessons. Once in a while, a storm will develop during the day, making it impossible to return the youngsters to their homes. Then they must spend the night at school. There are special facilities set up just for that purpose. You might ask the question, why does anyone want to live in such a remote area as this? And yet, if the government were to build roads to these villages, many of the people would pack up and move away because they would not want to live near those ugly bands of concrete, those symbols of civilization. Yes, you cannot begin to understand a Norwegian until you understand his instinctive love for nature. As we continue farther northward with the coastal steamer, we will visit the towns of Tromsø and Hammerfest. We pass many beautiful islands and fjords en route, one of which is called Trollfjord. The entrance is barely wide enough for our ship to pass. Once inside, we come into a small bay, just large enough for our ship to turn around and go right back out again. There are no docking facilities here. The ship comes in only during the summer when the weather permits and when tourists are on board. Believe it or not, we saw 2 small farmhouses at the end of that bay, totally isolated from all civilization. No roads, no telephones. They had to come and go by their own means, and that was by boat. The nearest store was a 2 hours boat ride away. You wonder why some Norwegians have chosen to live in such a remote area. The city of Tromsø, often called the capital of northern Norway, is a beautiful modern community of 40,000, a college town. The symbol of this city has become the modernistic church because of its unusual architecture. Here, too, the coastal steamer stops on its northward journey. These coastal steamers play an important role in the country's transportation system. There are 14 coastal steamers. It takes 12 days to go from Bergen to the northern tip of Norway and back to Bergen again. There's a coastal steamer that leaves Bergen every day of the year. These steamers are used mostly for carrying freight and mail, but in the summer, there are many tourists on board. Nearby, a memorial to that great Norwegian explorer, Amundsen, the first man to reach the South Pole. Although we are almost within sight of the North Pole, the summers here are very comfortable and warm. As we walked down the main street of Tromsø, we came upon a polar bear that was the most manhandled that I've seen north of the Arctic Circle. Hammerfest, the most northerly city in the world, on the 70th parallel, as far north as the northern tip of Alaska. The town was destroyed during World War II, but it has been rebuilt, and today it's a commercial fishing center. In the winter, north of the Arctic Circle, the sun doesn't rise above the horizon. Oh, there will be a slight amount of twilight for an hour or two, and then 22 hours of total darkness. The street lights are on 24 hours a day, but in the summer, the sun shines 24 hours a day. This is the land of the Lapps and the reindeer. In the early spring, before the snow leaves the ground, the Lapps will bring their reindeer to the coast, drive them across the sound to the offshore islands, where the reindeer will graze during the summer. Then the Lapps will pitch their tents along the coast on the mainland and live a very nomadic life, a life that they have known since time immemorial. Yes, the Lapps are the true nomads of the north. They derive their main source of income from the reindeer, so when the reindeer migrate, the Lapps must follow. At the end of summer, the Lapps will bring the reindeer back to the mainland and to the interior, where the Lapps have their permanent winter homes that are just as comfortable as yours or mine. The Lapps are very proud of their heritage, and rightly so. You'll often find them wearing their costumes, except when they work, because the costumes are expensive. If you happen to be visiting among the Lapps, I would like to pass along a word of advice. So often, tourists look upon the Lapps as curiosities. They don't like that. Furthermore, their privacy is often invaded. Just because the flap of their tent happens to be open, it doesn't mean that you're welcome in, any more than if a door of your home happened to be open. Also, never ask a Lapp how many reindeer he has. This would be the same as asking you how much money you have in the bank. It just isn't polite. So if you are sensitive about their privacy, you'll get along very well with them. But life here in the north is so different. There are vast wilderness areas where no one lives except for the wandering Lapps. Even the light this far north seems strange. In the middle of summer, the sun doesn't get any farther above the horizon than what we see here. Because of the low angle of the sun, there are long shadows that reach across the countryside, silhouetting the Arctic wilderness against the eternal glow of the heavens. But soon, the gentle rays of the sun return color and beauty to northern Norway. In June, on the eve of the longest day of the year, everyone from the largest city to the smallest village will gather along the river banks and fjords, build huge bonfires, and dance through the night to those old world melodies. If you happen to be in northern Norway in the middle of May, just before the arrival of the midnight sun, you may be standing here at the water's edge one night, look down at your watch, and see that it is midnight. And as you look up, you suddenly see that sun appear from behind the distant mountain peaks. For the next 2.5 months, that sun will not set.